Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Money Mindset Hub podcast. I'm your host, Carla Townsend, a money mindset and success coach for female entrepreneurs who are ready to dissolve their money blocks and shatter their income ceilings. So this episode is actually what I think is really required to create abundance now, considering that I have had the pleasure of getting mentored from incredible ladies, mentoring incredible ladies myself, walking alongside these just absolute business moguls, and even interviewing self-made multimillionaires and how they've got it and understanding the way that they think, their habits, everything. There is definitely some underlying themes. And look, I just had an interview with Felicity Morgan, who is the shadow work queen. And in that, we touch on it. Like, this woman has done remarkable things. This episode drops next week, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But I mean, this woman made $1 million in a month in her business. Like, these are the kind of women that I get to interview and reach and speak to and bring these sorts of conversations to you so that you can learn from them about what they did and how they think. It's not necessarily the actions in which they took. It's actually about understanding the person that they are, their personality, the way that they think, the way that they move, the way that they conceptualize what's happening and how they learn from that and then move on from it. It's all about the person that they are, the woman that they are. I think that's the most incredible thing to really take from any of these conversations. It's really listen to the things that they are saying and what's sort of in between the lines, because it's showing you their secrets, the mindset habits of the millionaires. So first, I also want to talk to you about what is actually abundance, because the term abundance is actually defined as just a lot of something. That's all it is. So it can be a lot of whatever that you want. But typically when we think about abundance, we instantly think about money and success. And that's kind of where our brains usually go, right? Especially when you're thinking about entrepreneurship. It's like, I want to create massive abundance. It's like wealth, freedom, time, opportunities, experiences, traveling. It's all these things. But typically they all come back to needing money as a resource to be able to fuel these things. So I really want to talk to you about that and what that means. And before we even dive in further into how to actually cultivate an abundant mindset and adopt these mindset habits of millionaires, I really want you to think about, what does abundance mean to you? What does it really mean to you? And get clear on what it is you're actually going for. There is an incredible saying that I love from Yogi Berra. And she says, if you don't know where you're going, you will wind up someplace else. And it couldn't be more true, because unless you have the clarity and the direction of where it is you're deciding to go, and it doesn't matter if you pivot and change and move things and tweak things, and if things felt aligned and then all of a sudden they don't, which is something that I discussed with Katrina, which is coming up in 2 weeks' time on the podcast. So again, stay tuned for that interview. But it's okay to pivot and change, but you still need to understand where you're going. So right now, just think about it. What is abundance to you? What does that mean? What is the abundant lifestyle that you actually want to create, and get that clarity on where it is you're going? Now, if you don't know, if you're asking yourself, well, I don't know what I want. I don't really know what I want. And how do I define what I want? I want you to ask yourself, what don't you want? I know that could seem like a bit of an odd question, but what don't you want? And then what's the opposite? Because that's clarity. Right there, the opposite of what you wrote down, of what you don't want, is actually what you want. And it's an easy way to find it. It's just tricking your brain to thinking differently. You'll see how easy it is to think of the things that you don't want and how hard it is to actually think of the things that you do. Because often you're taught not to say your dreams out loud. You know, I'm sure we all have the same thing when it's your birthday and you blow out the candles and you're going to make a wish, but you don't say it out loud because then it won't come true. I call bullshit on that. I think you should voice your dreams out loud, but there is a caveat. It's to the people who are actually going to support you and really encourage you to go for it and hit those dreams and hit those goals. Because I do think that there are some dreams and some visions that should be saved for the people who are actually going to support you and not be triggered by it and be triggered by you, or the people that are yet to do a lot of the self-awareness and the self-reflection and contemplation and integration of the parts of themselves that they don't really want to see. They can't actually hold those sorts of visions. And you probably notice that maybe before you've had this dream, this vision, you've got this clarity, you know what your abundant life is, you know what your millionaire self will be doing. And then you've told someone, and then you've said that to someone, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family, it's someone trusted, and they just projected on you all of their shit because they can't hold that. And like, why would you dream so big? Why would you need that? Or I wouldn't think about that, or I wouldn't do that, or I wouldn't want that. And that's fine, but that's their projections. Again, whenever anybody projects stuff onto you, just remember that they can't hold that. So those conversations are not for them. Okay. let's dive into this. So, step one, the first thing that I notice in these millionaires is that they audit their mindset and their environment. So they're able to actually identify when they're operating out of scarcity and lack versus when they're actually operating out of their highest self and in service. Okay. Because when you're making scarcity driven actions or when you're having scarcity driven thoughts, that's actually showing you that there's unconscious money blocks at play there. And maybe there's a part of yourself you haven't accepted yet. Maybe there's a part of yourself you need to actually integrate. Maybe there's something that you really want to do, but you're still running around the path of, but I should do this instead, or I should do that, or who am I? There's just these parts of you where you need to be able to recognize that you've been playing small due to fear, to conditioning, societal norms. These are what has actually been coming up for you. So recognize, well, what's actually going on here? And start to detox your mind. Now, this has got to be one of the biggest things that I see. And I actually, when I had this discussion with Felicity, my guest coming up next week, she actually said that, she's worked with some incredible founders, multimillionaires, and the most obvious habit that has led them to getting to where they are, building these huge empires, and even herself, she's speaking from experience too, is that they do not consume mainstream media, the negative news, the low vibe conversations, the gossiping. They don't know about what's going on with this influencer, that celebrity. They have no idea because they live under a rock because they're so busy being in their purpose and trying to create a legacy and build fulfillment and build their businesses and become the best human they can be. They're actually focusing on that. They don't have time for all the mediocre stuff going on around the world. And it was really cool to see that because this is something that, look, I've been preaching for a few years now. Like, when we go back to that time that was in 2020 and beyond, it was really a prime example that the media and the news is just really fear mongering. And who needs that? And when you watch that kind of stuff and you consume that, or, maybe there's a lot of stuff you're yet to deal with. Maybe you haven't built the confidence yet. You don't have the self belief yet because you're still waiting for the evidence to show you, maybe, right? I think when you're in that state and you're comparing and you're procrastinating, that is the biggest opportunity then to detox, stop consuming, block it out, focus on you, stay in your own lane and trust your own intuition. Because when you're absorbing everything else from everybody else, they're just affecting your bubble. So I picture it like you've got this invisible bubble around you and that is protecting your energy. And you need to protect your energy. You need to protect it from everything that is not going to serve you and everything that is not of your highest good and the highest good of all the people that you're trying to serve. So if you're involving yourself in gossip, in worrying about this celebrity and who they're dating and, oh, they're broken up and whatever it might be. And don't get me wrong, occasionally you're going to see those things. You're like, oh, I didn't know that. But I couldn't tell you the amount of times where people have said to me, oh, yeah, did you hear such and such? Or have you watched this doco about such and such? I'm like, who is that? Or I'll just frankly say to them, no, I live under a rock. But that rock was created intentionally because I don't care for it. I'm actually just here doing my thing. And this is making me so productive. I'm just focusing on being the best person I can be, the best mother, the best wife, the best business owner. I'm trying to do this. And this is what I'm going to look back on, like building a legacy through my life, not making sure that I'm caught up to date with everything else that's going on with everyone else around the world that I can't do anything about and it doesn't actually affect me. So that, if I can reinforce anything to you right now, is be really mindful. What are you consuming? Because the people that are building these multi-million dollar empires, these massive businesses, the one that you idolize to be or become, these are the ones that they're not worried about all this stuff. They're not watching all this stuff. If anything, they detox their mind, their body, their environment, their home, everything from all the stuff that doesn't serve them and it's not in their vision. So get really clear. Again, go back. What is abundance to you? What does it look like? What do you want? Then, what are the things you actually need to cull, shed from your life in order to then bring this in, to bring in these beautiful things that you want? What do you need to shed? What do you need to let go of? So, the next thing is a big habit that these millionaires have is that they actually learn to shift their identity and their energetic minimum. So you don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe that you are. So you want to be able to upgrade your identity to match the level of wealth and success that it is that you desire. So think right now, I want you to ask yourself, because often the level of success that you believe you're capable and worthy of achieving is directly correlated with how much money you believe you can create and receive. So right now, if I am to say to you, who are you? Who are you really? And do you believe that? So I want you to start to think and start to play with, well, who am I? What is my identity? What have I attached my identity to? And often I find mothers, for instance, we start to lose our identity a little bit when we become a mum, because we're kind of trying to step into this new role of becoming a mum, and there's no rule book that comes with that. And then if you're growing a business, you're trying to step into the CEO and you're trying to be all these people, and your identity gets a little bit lost and a little bit cloudy. And then when you look outside of yourself, again, it's like, oh, I should do this, I should do that. The end of the day, we're just disconnected from our intuition. So being able to first off understand, what do you identify as? If you say the phrase, I am blank, fill in the blank. What comes? I am what? Now, often it is, I am a mum, I am a business owner, I am someone who loves to cook. You know what I mean? Like, we start to go into the things that we attach our identity to and the things that we like, but it's not actually about who we are. Your identity is who you are. It is your personality. It is the characteristics of you. And of course, there's different hats that we wear, but that's not you. Like, yes, I'm a mum, but really, I'm a nurturer. I'm caring. I'm compassionate. I'm loving. I'm, I don't know. There's a million different things that you could go there. And the next thing is, I want you to think about, I am a blank K earner. What is your identity attached to when it comes to the level of income that you're creating, right? I am a what? K earner per year, per month, whatever it might be. What comes up for you? If I ask you that, do you go, I'm a 100K earner? I'm a 150K earner? I'm $1 million earner? What comes up? Because that right there, one, is actually going to show you your identity with money and how you identify yourself. And if you want to shift that, that's going to show you your minimum. That's your income ceiling right there. What is your minimum in terms of money? What is your minimum in terms of how much do you earn? How much do you save? How much do you spend? How much does it actually cost to run your life? And start to build your capacity to hold more and shift your identity to become someone who can actually hold more, feel safe with money, feel deserving of money, feel worthy of money. Because often I find that money blocks are just attached to your self-worth. That's what I notice in all the clients. And it doesn't matter whether you're earning $2,000 a month or $100,000 a month. That's the same trend that I've noticed, is they don't all feel worthy. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to feel worthy in order to earn those 100K months. Like I was saying, I've had clients that are in that 50K to 100K month bracket, and they don't actually feel worthy. They're just doing the things. They're still taking action regardless. So you don't have to wait until you get that external validation or that income, or you hit the milestone to then become someone. It's about shifting that now. So then you don't actually get to that point where you feel like, but I'm making all the money and I've got all the clients and I've got all the success, but I don't feel any different. Because that's actually a big thing that I have noticed in interviewing women who have made millions of dollars, is actually when they hit those big milestones, it didn't feel any different. They thought that it would, but it didn't. And that's one of the biggest takeaways that I want you to think about. It's never about the money, it's about what it brings you. But you have to get clear on what that means for you and how you're going to navigate that. So I want you to be able to calibrate your energetic minimums to normalize the kind of money that you want to earn. Let's say your goal is to earn minimum 30K a month. I am becoming someone who can earn $30,000 a month, right? You want that to be your energetic minimum. You want to sit at that. That to be your baseline. Now, let's say that's far off and it's a bit far-fetched right now. That's okay. But I want you to think, okay, if I was earning $30,000 a month, what would my identity be like? What would my personality be like? What are the things that I would find important? What are the things that I would value? What are the things that I would do better? And look at your day to day, because your actions, your habits, your behaviors are going to dictate your reality. And your current reality right now is purely just a byproduct of your past habits, behaviors, attitudes, actions, lack of action, you're living your results right now, is what I'm saying. You're living your current results. And the beautiful thing is, you can always decide in any given moment to change that and shift it. Now, the third biggest thing that I notice in these incredible humans who are doing massive things is that they all work on their money mindset. Now, clearly, my business is here for a reason. I speak about money mindset. I could not stress to you how important it is. But every single one of them, it is one of the questions that they will be asked in the application is, how has improving your relationship with money affected your success? And every single one of them has been like, game changing, life changing. I had a very tumultuous relationship with money. I thought it was really hard to make. I thought it was just for the lucky. All these things. I had so many money blocks under the surface. And the minute they actually started to bring awareness to it and they started to do something about it, they started to become their own pattern interrupters. They started to change things and actually do the money work, right? Do the money work. Hint, go to Rich and Resilient. That is my signature money course. Go and do it. You will change your life. Just saying. But the minute that they actually started to shift their money mindset and work on their relationship with money, much like it was a relationship with a person, that's when things started to shift. They started to see it as it really was because they took responsibility for their part in that relationship. It's a relationship that we have, much like a relationship with food. We have a relationship with money. We have a relationship with ourselves. We have a relationship with our partner, our kids, our peers, all of them. We all have an underlying unconscious relationship with everyone and everything in our life. So this is one of the biggest moving parts, is to stop seeing money like it's really hard to make and realize that it is infinite. Wealth is infinite. There is an infinite amount of opportunities, of possibilities. And the more that you surround yourself with people doing big things, with people who have a positive money mindset, a healthy relationship with money and possibilities, the more that you will actually just become like those people. You will start to elevate your standards, to see the possibilities and to actually move in the direction of more of what it is that you want. And you won't involve yourself in conversations, in mediocrity around money and success and blame and rich are greedy, rich are evil, all these sorts of things. Scrap all of it, work on your money mindset, and swear to God, your life is going to change. Now, the next mindset habit of millionaires is actually embodying abundance through action. Okay, so what I mean for this is they're not thinking and wishing and hoping and praying that someone else comes and does the action for them and does the work and does the things that they don't want to do. They're actually just doing it. They're doing it, they're getting it done. It's a necessity. If they can outsource, they get it done. Because the thing is, they do not allow their emotions to actually dictate their behaviors. We're all emotional beings, especially women. We are so emotional, hormonal, whatever you want to say. We're wearing different hats. We're all in different stages of life. Right now, I'm still in the stage with little kids. I've still got one in 3-year-old kindergarten. So I'm still in that stage of little kids. And I understand that, but I'm not going to allow how tired I am and how I can't be bothered to stop me from showing up as the best mum, showing up as the best wife, and actually doing things in my business that are going to move the needle. There could have been a million different times also that I personally know that I could have gone, you know what, I'm just tired today. I'm just not going to do that. If I have a podcast interview, like I need to be really sick, and I mean really sick, can't talk properly, in order for me to cancel or move things around. I just don't. I was always that sort of person. Even if I felt like a little sniffle or something like that, or I was actually really sick when I was an employee, I would still show up because I work from home. I'll still show up. I'll still do something. I will still do it to the best of my ability unless I'm like, okay, rest. But when it comes to my business, I'm still doing things to move the needle. And maybe it's an overactive brain. I don't know. I struggle to probably be in the present moment. I'm getting way better at it, a lot more practice. But I always find that I need to move and do something, even if it is just one thing a day, one teeny tiny little thing. It's moving the needle. And also just accepting where you're at. So accepting, like, okay, I'm in this stage of life. This is realistically how many hours have I got? What's actually going to move the needle? Do that. Don't neglect my body, because I've done that many times, and maybe you have too, where you've just gone full hog doing it all and all of a sudden you burn out because you just didn't see the warning signs, or maybe there wasn't any. Maybe your body's sneaky like mine and there's not really any warning signs, and then boom, burn out. But what I notice for all of these incredible humans that I have walked alongside, been mentored by, interviewed, is that they take action regardless. And it doesn't always look like XYZ every single day, and every single day has to be the same. Everyone's always different, I find. Some are very regimented like that, some aren't. But also, it's okay, because the thing is, there are things that you can always do to be better. And the thing is, if you're okay with where you're at and you're just doing it at a steady pace, that's cool. And obviously, what you're doing is working. But if you're not happy with where you're at, then there's things that you probably could have done better. So look at those, take more action, take action that you know is going to move the needle, and don't do the tasks that mean nothing and don't move the needle, don't make money. You need to actually focus on the money moves in your business. So I want you to think about, your offers, for instance. What offers do you have? How are you pricing? What's the processes? What support do you need? How are you spending? How are you circulating money confidently? What's your relationship with money like? All these things, they all tie into one or the other. And just understanding how to actually make decisions, not out of fear and not from emotion, but like making grounded decisions from a state of overflow, not fear, not scarcity, not lack. Never make a decision when you are in emotional turmoil in your business, in your life. That's just a standard. Never reply to an email when you're emotional or you're angry or something's going on. Don't do that. Pause, take a moment, reflect, and always act as your higher self. Would your higher self respond like that? Would your higher self burn it all down and start again? Would they do that? Or are you just feeling the emotions and you just need to move through that emotional wave? Then you can make a more grounded decision. That you'll come back and not regret. So think about that. Now, the last mindset habit for millionaires is the fact that they actually work on recoding their nervous system for the wealth that they want to create, for the opportunities, for the possibilities. They begin to become accustomed before it even happens that it's actually happening. Now, you can do this through visualizations, you can do this through tapping, you can do this through affirmations, meditations, whatever it is that you enjoy. But you need to be able to prime your subconscious mind to actually build that comfort zone for when it comes. Because the thing is, and I was actually chatting on an interview today, but I was saying how this is the reason why, in my opinion, this is the reason why you hear all these stories about people who've won millions and millions of dollars in Tats Lotto, right? And then they end up somehow in a worse off position than what they were before they won the money. And it's because they didn't regulate their own nervous system to get that. It was just like, here's however many million. And they're like, whoa, more money than probably they've ever fathomed in their life, more money than they've ever received. They don't know what to do about it. They've probably got boundaries getting crossed left, right, and center from people because they haven't actually built themselves into the person who can hold that and make emotionally regulated, grounded decisions with it and think about their future vision. So how can you prime your mind to be able to build that comfort zone for when it comes? There are many different ways to do this. This is what I teach. I teach you this in Rich and Resilient. So if that interests you, please go and check it out. It is life-changing. That I will actually teach you how to rewire your subconscious mind so that you can expand your capacity to hold more than what you ever thought. Because when you start to do that, when you start to actually rewire your mind, that's when you start to see these opportunities everywhere that you previously wouldn't have seen, because it's just like you become this magnet. Your brain becomes this magnet. And I explain all that in Rich and Resilient and how to do it in all of the ways so you'll fully understand it in every cell of your being. But these are the things that really create a big difference. And one of the most important things when it comes to this nervous system subconscious regulation is this role of detachment. It's this neutralizing money that comes, this trust, this innate trust that money's going to come. It's going to sort it out. Of course, you at the same time need to make decisions with your money and how you're managing it and what you're paying for. You need to know what's coming in and out, right? We can't be avoidant. There's no avoidance here. And if you're in avoidance, you don't want to check your bank account, you're just freaking out. It's okay. People do start there, but let's not stay there, okay? Because we can't stay in avoidance. If you want to improve your relationship with anything, let's say it's your partner, for instance, would you just ignore them, avoid them, not look at them, and just completely not trust them? No, because that relationship is probably not going to last. Remember, your relationship to money is a relationship. So if you're avoiding it and you're doing the same behaviors, what do you think is going to happen? You're not going to feel good about it. You're not going to want to expand it. You're not going to be able to hold it because, God, you don't even want to look at it, right? You need to have that role of detachment, trust that it's going to come, but actually do the things that you need to do and be the CEO that you need to be in order to actually build that business and make smart decisions. And it's okay not to know because, most of us aren't taught this stuff about when you start earning money. How do you pay taxes? How do you do this? How do you manage your banks? How do you make it easy? How do you automate? How do you streamline? all of these things. There are so many different layers to it, but it doesn't have to be complicated. And that's what I love doing, is actually simplifying these concept things and teaching you an easy way. It can be easy. Money can be easy. Mindset can be easy. But these things are definitely game changing. And these are 5 different things that I notice are coming up constantly in the millionaires that I get the privilege to speak to and know. And I hope that this helps you. So stay tuned for next week when we have Felicity coming on, the Shadow Work Queen. And then the following week, we actually have Katrina coming on. She's an interior design mentor. And these women have just built remarkable businesses. And I cannot wait for you to tune in. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe so that you get notified of every new episode that we have coming. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of the incredible future episodes and guests that we have coming up for you. And if you haven't already subscribed to our email list, be sure to do so, because we have some pretty epic things coming this year, as well as a magazine will be sent to our subscribers every single month to help you with all things money and mindset, personal development, and entrepreneurship. The world needs more kind-hearted women like you with deep pockets. I'll catch you in the next episode.